welcome to the very first episode of our podcast club brought to you by Everest in the School's 9th graders. I'm your host Sylvia Khadka and you're watching Everest Media. Today, we're diving into a topic that hits close to home for many of us, which is the challenge of balancing academics and mental health. And we are joined by two of our exceptional students, Miss Nutan and Miss Angelina, who have consistently proven us that it's possible to excel academically while staying mentally healthy. Welcome to you both. So as we all know that most of the students today, they struggle to balance their academics while staying mentally healthy. And most often we find ourselves setting unrealistic expectations that lead to disappointments, that lead to stress. So Angelina, what do you think are the biggest challenges that students like us face when setting academic goals?
For me, in my perspective, I do not think there's only one challenge that comes to mind when students try to set up academic goals. Yet there are a lot of challenges where one challenge is associated to another, and one challenge creates hence one another. So there are a lot of challenges. For me, the first one will be time management. Time management has always been a problem for everybody, so including students as well. When we don't have a proper, or in other words, let's say, a strict time management routine, we might end up over-lengthening our time for entertainment purposes and not limiting our time for those kind of things. And this all leads to a mess at the end. And after that lack of time management routine, we might don't have time to reach up our goals. There are certain steps to reach to a certain goal, and when we don't have a proper time management routine for that, well, we obviously don't have time to go through all of those steps. So there is procrastination. You know, when something is so tensing or stressing for us, we tend to avoid it. So in the end, we end up doing procrastination, and of course, procrastination invites more problems. So you know, as with students ourselves, we expect more of ourselves in academics. We expect ourselves to be, well, not really, if not really expert, we like to be good at it. But when we don't have when we have all of those challenges that I just mentioned before, we don't have enough time for it, and we end up making more problems for ourselves. So that creates a fear of failure for our students, and that also creates sort of what shall I say, difficulty in reaching up to the standards that society has set for our students. And of course that all brings us fear and anxiety and stress for our students. And in the midst of all of those stress and anxiety of us, we tend to go up to a point where we start to compare ourselves to other peers, and that creates low self-esteem. Yes, so those are the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angelina. Those were some really great points that you've mentioned. And as the saying goes, every challenge has a solution. Looking at your exceptional grades, I'm pretty sure you found some great ones. So my next question is for Nutan. Could you please share with us on how you set achievable goals without putting too much pressure on yourself? What are the strategies that have worked for you?
Well, in my opinion, I feel like academic goals, they're just things that will help you in your future academic career. They can be big, but they can be small. Like my academic goal can just to get a 8 out of 10 in a physics test, or my academic goal can be to be the top 1 student of my entire grade as well. But what I like to do personally is I like to create goals which are actually realistic rather than creating unrealistic goals, like boosting my GPA from a 2.9 to a 4.0. Now that's unrealistic, and that's just going to create a more stressful environment for me. Likewise, I feel like many students, we struggle with what goals to keep as well. Before, my goals used to just be to develop academically, but most of the time these goals were useless because I didn't know which field I was going to aim for. And actually I read an article a few years back, I guess, yes. And it talked about how we can keep goals, basically SMART goals to be more exact. And basically SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and time-bound. Our goals should be specific. We should know what we should aim for, rather than saying that my academic goal is to just develop academically, get better grades than I got last time. You can say that your goal is to boost your grade in science from a B+ to an A. Like this way, you will know exactly what you're aiming for. Now, your goals should also be measurable. It can be quite hard to understand, so let me just specify what I mean. Let's say that your academic goal is just to read more, but you can change that goal and say that my academic goal for this week is to read 2 books, so that when you finish reading one book, you know you're halfway already there and you can track your progress. Your goals should also be achievable and reliable in somewhat way possible. And achievable, I don't really have to say much about it, but reliable, like your short-term goals should also help with your which should also align with your long-term goals. Let's say that my long-term goal is to become a biologist, then I should start studying. My short-term goal should focus on studying like biology for 5 to 10 minutes per day. And your goals should also be time-bound. That just means that you should have a deadline for each and every goal. Yeah, that's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
You're welcome, Nutan, and you've mentioned some great points that our viewers can definitely benefit from. And I like the part where you said that we should set specific, achievable, reliable, and measurable goals, and I think our viewers will definitely love it as well. So now let's talk about balance. So Angelina, this question is for you. How do you balance that drive to succeed while staying mentally healthy? Could you please share with us?
Yes. First of all, balancing both of those can be hard at the beginnings, of course, but once you get used to those things, it gradually becomes easy. The first thing that I would recommend is time management, of course. You need to have a proper and a strict time management routine that would not let you slack off at any point. It might be when you're indulging in entertainment activities or indulging in your academics related activities. You need to set a specific time period for it, and you should not try to slack off. Your time management routine must be that strict. So a proper time management routines also includes, as you already said, flexible goals through which we can accomplish our goals. It would invite flexible goals which can be break down into steps as well. And when reaching goals, we do not directly go into success, do we? We might even encounter some failures, and failures should be normalized. Failures are a part of success, so we must normalize failures as a part of success. And I would say self-motivation. Of course, nobody can motivate you more than yourself, of course. So you need to motivate yourself, that you should not compare yourself to others, to what they can do. Yet, you must try to make yourself better instead of comparing yourself to those. And as much as self-motivation and self-care is important, I would recommend a healthy group of supporters as well. That could include your family or friends. Thank you.
You're welcome. So those were some really valuable advice you've shared with our viewers. And like you've said, that failure, it is the stepping stone towards success. And we also learn from failures, and self-motivation is the biggest way of achieving any success, that I'd also like to add up. And now I'd like to ask to Nutan, so what advice would you like to share with our viewers who are struggling or having difficulties on trying to find the perfect balance? So today most of the students, they think that they have to sacrifice one in order to achieve other. So what kind of suggestion would you like to give to them who are having a hard time?
Well, she already told a lot of things which I already agree with, and prioritization of your tasks as well as time management is probably one which is like most important. By prioritization of tasks and time management, I'm not saying that you should exactly give equal time to each and every aspect like health, family, etc. But you should just give enough time and energy to your tasks according to what you think truly matters, like your mental health, your physical health, and etc. And another thing is like this is something which I feel like our subconscious mind just does. Whenever I receive my result paper back, or whenever I am like trying to track my progress, I can't help but compare myself to my other classmates or peers who are better than me. And to be honest, it's quite disheartening. So even in social media, they say like you should never compare your level 1 with somebody else's level 10. We all have our own capabilities and stuff like that. So I don't think so. As a student, I think that you should be satisfied with what you have achieved, and you should not compare yourself with others as well. Another thing is that we should not aim for perfection as students, because at the end of the day, nobody is perfect. Instead, we should aim for progress. Even in the old days, Japan's quality used to be so bad that most of the time people used to be ashamed when they bought stuff from Japan. However, now it's quite quite the opposite. People are instead showing off things that they bought from Japan. So instead of aiming for perfection, we as students, we should aim for progress instead. Yeah, that's something.
Thank you very much, and I loved all the points that you've raised, and I'm pretty sure our viewers will find it helpful too. And I loved it when you said that we should not compare ourselves with others because our level 1 and their level 10 can't be compared. And the example of Japan that you've just given, I loved it as well. So thank you very much for such points. And before wrapping up, is there any final piece of advice you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, I would like to add on then.
Sure, thank you.
Basically, another thing is like we should normalize taking break. Okay, so one thing which I have realized is that most of the students of nowadays, we like to overcommit to our goals. That just adds on more stress and just more pressure in general. So I feel like we should normalize taking breaks because at the end of the day, we're human after all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nutan. So is there anything else that you'd like to share with our viewers, Angelina?
That's okay. I think Nutan already said her part.
So then thank you very much to the both of you for sharing your experiences with our viewers. And these are the matters that often tend to stay behind the closed doors. So I'm incredibly proud of both of you. And also a very special thanks to our viewers for tuning into our very first episode. And we are excited to bring you much more engaging discussions. This is Sylvia Kodga signing off, Everest Media. Thank you.